And they're the players. Joe Bernal on your left, Jake Dietrick on your right. Blue-White Wizards versus Black-White Tokens. I guess we can call it Black-White Tokens. It's got special possession Bitter Blossom.
Yeah, definitely.
No way to really pump the tokens up.
No Windswept Heath in this one.
No Windswept Heath. It's true.
Or sorry, not Windswept Heath. The Hideaway Land.
Yes. Okay, I have Windbrisk Heights. I was
Windbrisk Heights.
I guess there aren't any Windswept Heaths. You're right, Zach.
No Windbrisk Heights in this one.
Yep, no Windbrisk Heights. So who do you think has the edge in this matchup?
Let's see. Well, Jake can definitely control the spells that get cast in the game with Spell Snare, Force of Will, and Counterspell. But I think I do have to give it to Joe Bernal. He just has so much hand disruption that if he can land even one Hymn to Torok, the game's really going to swing in his favor. I would say the more Spell Snares Jake draws, the better off he's going to be, because that's a very powerful card against Joe's deck. How about you?
I kind of feel like Joe is a little favored here. I think that I've watched Joe play before, and he's been able to play tight and dismantle similar blue-white decks, and I think he'll be able to do the same here. Of course, cards like Hymn to Torok are really swinging. If he just resolves an early Hymn, he's going to just get so far ahead. Okay, Joe leads with Marsh Flats.
And Jake draws, eyeing a basic Swamp, which he plays.
Yep.
Passes back. Basic Swamp. Hold on a second. I'm not sure we have the right deck list here.
We definitely do not have the right deck list.
I see an Entomb in his hand. Looks like Jake is actually playing Reanimator. Or if that is Jake.
Yeah, I do not think that is Jake Dietrich. We have the wrong deck list in front of us.
We will get that one for you, but as it appears, it is Reanimator.
that is not Blue-White Wizards. Well, that changes everything we just said,
Yep.
so ignore everything there.
That took a second. Oh, now this Hymn is pretty dangerous, because this could very easily backfire Pitch Fatty.
Right, it could be insane. It could hit his reanimation spells, or it could hit his fatties. We're going to see what happens.
Oh, and we can't see that one. Make sure we get that graveyard on camera for you.
All right. 2 cards are Days and the mystery card.
I think a blue card. That might have been an Inkwell Leviathan. Not sure, though.
Could be. Entomb from Jake Dietrich, if that is his real name, which it likely is not.
Goes searching through his deck for an Imperial Archangel.
Okay.
Interesting choice.
Feels like Imperial Archangel is the route to go down against this deck.
Dead Guy Ale style deck with both Vindicates and Swords to Plowshares. And now Jake's going to untap. We'll see if he has the turn 2 Reanimate. And yeah, I do see an Animate Dead peeking out there.
Oh, man. That's what this Reanimator deck can do. It can just go bang, turn 2, Reanimate. Although, I'm kind of surprised. We don't have his list in front of us, but I presume he has Ginger Taxis in his deck. That's usually the card you want to get back first.
Yeah, I would think so, but especially versus a deck with no Force of Wills.
Right, no forces. You draw 7. Even if Joe can kill it on his turn, you've drawn 7 and probably have another reanimation spell waiting in the wings. All right, but Jake just brings back his Imperial Archangel, which is certainly no slouch either. But Joe has Gatekeeper Malkir in his deck. I don't know if he has it in his hand, but if he goes Swamp Gatekeeper, that is Blowout City.
It is, and I see a Vindicate there. He could potentially cut him off from some mana as well if that's what he chooses to do. So he will need to get a bit of pressure onto this board.
Yeah, I mean, beating Imperial Archangel is not easy.
No. Not at all. It looks like he's fingering a Hymn to Torok in his hand. And that's what he decides to cast.
Getting 2 of Jake's 3 cards. Doesn't want any more Reanimator shenanigans.
And he gets his 2 spells, leaving him with only a Polluted Delta.
Yeah, Careful Study and Animate Dead down there.
And the Reanimator player looks like he drew another Reanimate. So even if Joe can deal with that Archangel, it'll be coming back for more.
All right, Swamp Island.
Oh, that's an Exhume.
All right, back. Oh, he already had Ginger Taxis in his graveyard. That's what he discarded there. It wasn't Inkwell Leviathan after all. So it was Ginger Taxis, but Joe has the sword, so Thomas isn't going to draw any cards off that.
Very interesting choice to get the Archangel before the Djinn.
Yeah, I really think you wish you had gotten the Djinn there. But regardless, that's how it goes.
Yep, that Archangel is swinging in for 5-point chunks. Joe right now at 14 life.
Yeah, I still feel like Thomas is pretty favored here unless Joe has Gatekeeper. If Joe drops Gatekeeper, then I'm pretty sure he's just going to crush Thomas.
Right. It looks like his hand right now is Vindicate, a Wasteland, and a third unknown card, none of which clearly Gatekeeper.
Yep. But right now, nothing going on for Joe Bernal. And bam, in comes Imperial Archangel, dropping Joe down to a ripe 9 life.
And another Wasteland, not what Joe needs right here.
There's a Wasteland down for Joe, but yeah, that's it. Chips back. And that Imperial Archangel just pecking away, more like humping away at Joe Bernal's life total.
Joe has one more turn here.
Thomas Dietrick. There we go. Have it fixed up.
Makes sense.
Playing Reanimator.
And Thomas chooses not to cast that Exhume. Interesting.
Would rather Exhume the Archangel, maybe?
Probably.
I mean, he doesn't have anything in his graveyard right now, right?
Oh, right. That's right.
The Taxis got plowed.
Right. It got exiled. So nothing in the yard to return.
Excellent. Here we go. Thomas Dietrick. Now this just looks like a fairly standard Reanimator deck, except it's got Forge Ataxian Probes, which is kind of the one standout.
Yep, that's an interesting card for Legacy. Haven't seen much of it, but I expect to see more as time goes on.
And a deck like this where you want to know if they have it, if they don't have it, if you should Thoughtseize them or not.
Right.
Yeah, and Joe Bernal just picks it up. Imperial Archangel doing him in quite handily. And now the players are going to move to their sideboards.
And here's where things really get interesting. Let's see what kind of graveyard hate Joe Bernal has. Oh, and quite a bit. He has 1 Elspeth, 3 Extirpate, another Gatekeeper, 2 Relic of Progenitus, a Swords to Plowshares, 2 Diabolic Edict, 1 Umezawa's Jitte, 1 Wasteland, and 3 Engineered Plague. So Joe very well set up for this matchup. He has, at the very least, just 7 cards to bring in the form of 2 Edict, 2 Relic, and 3 Extirpate.
And the Gatekeeper. I would bring the Gatekeeper for sure.
And the Gatekeeper. So 8 cards, both Edict effects and Graveyard Hate. Those will prove very good for him here.
I think it's pretty clear Joe knows that this could be a problematic matchup, and he wants to make sure that he not only has the disruption in the discard main deck, but also the sacrifice effects after sideboarding.
Right. Any graveyard deck is very, very tough for a black-white deck to deal with. So what will he be boarding out here? Certainly some of the equipment can go.
Vindicate does not really excite me in this matchup. You can Vindicate their Animate Dead on one of their big guys, which is certainly true. You can hit some of their big guys, but Ginger Taxis has likely already done his damage, I think, a lot of the time. Drawing 7 cards. Hitting their lands is pretty unexciting. Looking down, what else he could hit here? Can't hit Imperial Archangel that way. He'll be shut off of Iona, or Iona will shut off Vindicate. So I think Vindicate is kind of slow too.
Definitely.
So I want to take out Vindicate here.
I almost feel like Swords to Plowshares can go too, because it's pretty clear that Thomas really values Imperial Archangel against Joe, and Swords will not be able to hit that at all.
And this is kind of one of those things we were talking about before, where I think in a lot of situations it'll be right for Joe to leave Swords in, but if Thomas's plan is clearly to go for Imperial Archangel, I feel like maybe your Swords aren't quite as good. Although you are bringing in a bunch of sacrifice effects, to be fair. I think Swords is generally good in this matchup, though. I think he's probably going to leave them in. You can hit Ginger Taxis, which is gigantic.
Definitely. That guy's obviously very problematic.
Interacting with him at instant speed is a big deal.
I definitely expect him to take out some of the token makers. Not sure if Spectral Procession or Bitter Blossom is better in this matchup, but I expect him to shave some of those numbers.
I think Procession will likely go out. I'd also expect him to cut down on some equipment. Umezawa's Jitte not doing so much here, for example.
Gaining 4 when your opponent draws 7 and you discard 7 every turn does not quite do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you get 4 counters, you kill Ginger Taxis, but if you have 4 counters on your Jitte, you're probably in a pretty plush position.
Yep, not what Joe is going to need here. So let's look at Thomas's deck and Thomas's sideboard.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see what he's going to bring. He's got a Blazing Archon, an Inkwell Leviathan, 2 Pithing Needles, a Chain of Vapor, a Wipe Away, 3 Spell Pierce, 2 Dispels, an Echoing Truth, and 3 Show and Tell. What do you think we're going to see here, Zach?
I definitely don't think we'll see the Show and Tell plan, at least in Game 2. I think Thomas, especially after winning Game 1, will not board that in until he knows that Joe has a lot of graveyard hate. Though, maybe if he knows Joe's list, because Joe is known for playing the same deck, maybe we'll see those Show and Tells. But the thing about the graveyard deck sideboards is it's often a guessing game. If you think they're bringing in Leyline of the Voids, you want the bounce spells. If you think they're bringing in things like Relic, you want the Show and Tells. So not really too sure. Probably not the Dispel. Really, it looks like Thomas does not have a lot of sideboard changes to make. Either Show and Tell or the bounce spells, depending on what he expects.
I don't think we'll see the bounce spells here.
No, I don't think so either. Leyline of the Void, not a commonly played card, especially with Nile Spellbound and Relic in the format. I don't expect to see Blazing Archon or Inkwell Leviathan, the Island Walk doesn't do anything, and the Blazing Archon, probably not the creature that Thomas wants. So maybe the Show and Tells as the only cards he can board in, maybe we will see those.
I think I kind of like Show and Tell for no other reason than Joe's going to be disrupting Thomas.
Right.
And if you Show and Tell in a big guy, it just gives you more reanimation spells, essentially, between Thoughtseizes and so on. I think after sideboarding, it's going to get pretty hard for Thomas, and Show and Tell might help mitigate that a little bit.
Definitely. If I was Thomas, I would definitely consider boarding out some number of Force of Wills here. Versus a Hymn to Torok deck, that's just not what you want to be doing. You're basically Force of Willing yourself.
I agree with taking out the Force as well. Alonze, here we go. Turn 1 Scrubland from Joe Bernal.
This is a final call to sign up
and
for
Cabal
the
Therapy.
Draft Open. If you are interested
And we'll see what Joe
in
names
Draft
here.
Open and have not yet enrolled, please come up to the stage and do so now. That will be starting right at 2 o'clock.
Unclear whether... Oh,
Not sure. Oh, Thomas is reading the Cabal Therapy, seeing maybe when it's named or something, and it resolves.
probably did not name Imperial Archangel.
He names Entomb, which he nabs one of, and sees a hand of Island, Underground Sea, Imperial Archangel, Daze, Jataxian Probe.
Very good hand for Thomas. He will be able to get that Archangel into the graveyard.
Excuse me, it's Daze Careful Study, not Daze.
Right.
So,
also with that Jataxian Probe, 2 life's going to be a small price to pay to see which creature he wants to get with any future entombs and things like that.
let's see what he goes for here. Draws a Brainstorm. That's a live card too. I think Careful Study is the play we're going to see right here.
I think so. I think his first priority is to get that Archangel into the graveyard here.
Yeah, and also to help find... Okay, Jataxian Probe, sure, that's fair.
Sure.
See what else there is. But I think he also wants to, try and get closer to a reanimation spell. Sees a hand of Swords of Plowshares, Diabolic Edict, Gatekeeper, Malakir, Fetid Heath, Third Confidant.
Wow.
That is a spicy hand for Joe Bernal in this matchup.
Very, very potent hand. Thomas would love to catch that Dark Confidant with the Daze, but likely Joe will not let him do that since he has full knowledge of the hand. And he draws an Underground Sea and says go. He does not Careful Study, chooses to wait on his Brainstorm.
Interesting. Why would you... I guess, yeah, if he's going to Brainstorm, but I don't like that Brainstorm.
No, I think Thomas is thinking here is he wants to protect his hand from any future discard spells, but he just Jataxian Probe.
Yeah, he saw everything that was in Joe's hand, so unless Joe chooses to go Confidant, sack it, Cabal Therapy, which you're probably fine with if you're Thomas Dietrick.
Right, exactly. If he really wants to get the Careful Study out of your hand at the cost of a Dark Confidant.
Oh, no, you see, it goes for the Brainstorm. I really don't like this. A, because it doesn't have a way to shuffle it away. B, because you really want to save that Brainstorm to protect your cards later on.
Right.
Brainstorm is so crucial in this matchup because you can protect your cards from discard. Now, Thomas does draw another one, vindicating his play maybe a little bit, but he's found no fetch land, no way to shuffle. He's just stuck drawing 2 cards for the next couple turns. Didn't really get him that far.
Exactly, that pretty much just drew a card in effect. So we'll see if he Careful Studies now. And playing the basic island, not so sure about that one. He would really hate for his Underground Sea to get him to Torok away.
On the flip side, he wants to protect from Wasteland,
That's
too.
true.
Although he knows Joe doesn't have a Wasteland. So Joe goes for Careful Study, draws another Underground Sea, and Reanimate.
Oh, and playing that island first was
A big mistake.
brutal.
Yeah, he could have gone for the Reanimate this turn.
Right.
And brought back Imperial Archangel.
Yeah, it would have been very, very good.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have done that just because Joe has Diabolic Tutor. Diabolic Edict in his hand. And you don't want to play it this turn because Joe has several sacrifice effects. You really have to build against those, but...
Right. Spell Pierce will definitely help against the Edict. Obviously not so much the Gatekeeper.
Yeah, he's got to find some answers for that.
Wow.
Here comes the Confidant from Joe Bernal.
Playing right into Daze, but chooses not to use it. Or maybe discarded it.
Brainstorm, draw Animate Dead, Careful Study, and Entomb. So he's got some options now.
And again, unfortunately, no Underground Sea in play, so he cannot upkeep Entomb. That's the line of play not available to him.
Puts Entomb back second, which I'm kind of surprised by.
Yeah. So untaps, draws his Underground Sea.
Yep. And I imagine he'll play that Underground Sea here. Yep, there's the Sea.
His hand is fully loaded. He has 2 Reanimate effects and a pair of counterspells, so we'll see what his play is here.
He's going to Reanimate. Alright, so he casts Reanimate. Going to get back Imperial Archangel.
Looks like it. Joe not going to have any response. All tapped out.
Yep, there's the Archangel. I feel like I would, if I were Thomas, I would play this game differently. Maybe he's played this deck more. I don't know, but I don't know if I like this line of play. I mean, the Archangel seems okay right here. You will be able to daze the first Edict Spell Pierce the actual Edict and daze the Malakir.
Right.
But
So-
I think that Dark Confidant's going to push him so far ahead.
I think so too. At this point, it's basically a race to see which kills first, the Confidant or the Archangel. And with that Sensei's Divining top, Joe's not going to be taking much damage from his Confidant if he doesn't want to.
Let's see what he goes for. Flashback Cabal Therapy is pretty reasonable. Alright, so he flashes back Cabal Therapy, cracking Dark Confidant, and trying to get one of his Gatekeepers to resolve here.
And not much Thomas can do about that. None of his counters will successfully counter that.
Alright, what does he name?
We will see. Looks like he named the Daze.
Took the days. Still see Spell Pierce. That means the coast is open and clear for Gatekeeper Malakir to knock down that Imperial Archangel. And dead will mean it comes back next turn. But if Joe finds another land, he can pay for Spell Pierce.
That's
and
right.
Edict it. And there's the Gatekeeper to knock down the Archangel.
Boom.
Archangel may have Shroud, but he can still target.
And not a legal play.
I do not recommend Spell Piercing Gatekeeper Malakir.
Unfortunately,
With
that
the
does not
top
work. That would be a
eight
very good
players
card.
From the first draft
Unless the pay
please
two just counter.
report to the
Yeah.
scorekeeper. The top 8
And
from
draws
the
that
first
Entomb that he
draft
put back earlier. And goes for the Animate Dead on the
Yep.
Imperial Archangel.
Trying to animate some dead. Archangel back. Now, note that the Archangel is vulnerable to anything that picks up the Animate Dead. If Joe finds a Vindicate, for example,
Right.
it can still be Spell Pierce, I suppose. But.
So now Joe has his Edict. We'll see if he drew a land.
Another Gatekeeper. That can't be Spell Pierced. Down goes Imperial Archangel, and Joe smashes in for 2 with the Gatekeeper, dropping Thomas down to 8 life.
Yeah, that Reanimate took a big chunk out of his life total.
Yeah, he was really banking on the Imperial Archangel, not going so hot for him. Draws another Daze.
One
Thomas.
turn late, unfortunately.
Thomas going to draw Careful Study, or cast Careful Study.
Draws a Reanimate. Unfortunately, cannot cast it. That would leave him at 0 life, returning that Imperial Archangel. So Thomas really in a rough spot right now. He's going to need to draw probably just an Animate Dead, maybe an Exhume as well, and have Joe brick on a land.
Alright, discards Spell Pierce. And what's the other card?
Might have been a Daze. Yeah, a Daze he discarded.
Daze. I don't know that I like that discard.
Yeah, Daze might be important there. And Spell Pierce.
And keeping the Force with no other blue card.
Right,
Not a big fan. Alright, and Thomas just passes back, ready to take 4 from the double Gatekeeper Malakir.
Yep, Joe draws, and there is another land, so he'll be able to pay for a Spell Pierce.
Not that Thomas has
Right,
right now.
discarded it.
Yeah. That's why I don't like Thomas discarding those two.
Right, if he kept, say, Entomb Daze Spell Pierce, he could potentially counter that.
Alright, so Thomas's board, triple Scrubland and Fetid Heath versus 2 Gatekeepers. Or with 2 Gatekeepers, rather.
Right.
Versus Thomas's 3 lands. And Thomas really under the gun here, probably going to lose next turn if he doesn't do something miraculous. Yeah, goes for Entomb.
Wants to thin his deck out of 1 less card.
As far as a miraculous goes, Entomb is not a bad way to start. Looks at Iona there for a second.
Iona not going to do it, though.
Nope, can't do Iona.
Unfortunately, no creature that really makes tokens for Thomas, and he just scoops him up.
Yeah, he just sees the writing on the wall within
Yep.
his deck.
Realizes that there's nothing he can draw to get him out of his situation.
And we'll be moving into game 3. Thomas Dietrick back on the play this time around. And do you think that gives him the advantage, or do you think it's still maybe in Joe's favor?
After sideboarding, Joe has a lot of cards against Thomas. Thomas will have to play very, very tight in game 3 in order to play around all of Joe's Edict effects and discard effects. In addition to the 3 extra pay and 2 relic, which he hasn't even seen yet. So if he's not careful, he might just get extirpated out of the game. I still think Joe's favored, even on the draw after
If you're
board.
confused about this procedure, the judges will be happy to
Now,
assist.
looking at the sideboards,
Once
it looks
again,
like
draft
Thomas brought in
number 2.
at least 1
Your
Spell
seedings for the
Pierce.
draft are posted.
No
Please
sign of
make your
show
way
and
to the
tell yet.
drafting
We'll see
area.
if he brought that one in. But definitely Spell Pierce came in.
Yeah, Spell Pierce is the one he brought in. It makes sense. There's a lot of spells for Joe Bernal.
Right.
So Spell Pierce seems like a pretty reasonable inclusion.
Very important to counter that turn 1 discard if he has it, or maybe like a turn 2 Cabal Therapy, something like that.
Yeah, just get the discard, get any kind of disruption, get, of course, Chainer's Edict like we saw later on.
Right.
Do not get Gatekeeper Malakir, however.
Unfortunately not. Even though it's an Edict effect, can't quite Spell Pierce that.
Indeed. You know, I think Thomas being on the play certainly helps him out a lot. I think the matchup gets a lot closer. I still think Joe has the edge in the third game, though.
Yeah, I think so too. I expect to see Joe take this one down, though I'm sure it'll be close.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of goes down here.
Dale Smith asks, what set are those islands that Thomas is using? Those are Zendikar Full Art Islands.
And I think they were foiled, no less, right?
They were very pretty islands.
Yeah, agreed. A lot of players, talk about Unhinged, Unglued, Zendikar. What do you think?
I'm personally a fan of Unglued as far as lands go, though my personal favorite are the APAC and Euro lands.
Oh, yeah, APAC and Euro lands.
A little harder to find, a little older, but some of the most beautiful lands you'll ever see.
Do you like Guru lands?
Guru lands are okay. A little pricey for me. I can't afford to be spending $40 on a plane.
Sure, if you could play any mana base, though, like with any lands you wanted,
right.
What lands would you choose?
They would probably be some sort of Euro lands.
Euro lands. I agree. Those lands are gorgeous. If you don't know what the APAC Euro lands are, they're lands with artwork based off of real locations.
Right.
So they were, there's a European set and also a Pacific Island set.
Yep.
So you have, some places in Japan, there's like a Great Wall of China plains.
Exactly. Very hard to find that one.
Yeah, there's really, really good ones.
I think my personal favorite is Amsterdam with the windmills and the tulips.
Yeah, the Amsterdam one is pretty
nice.
Perfect. And of course, there's the Guru lands, which are really hard to find. Therefore, the Magic's Guru program no longer exists. Was pretty short-lived. Basically, if you taught people how to play, you got basic lands that looked great. They're really hard to find now. Unhinged and Unglued get lands out of there too.
And how about you? What would you choose?
I don't play with Unhinged basics.
Yeah.
If I have enough. I also have a couple just normal basic lands that are like, I actually don't like playing with Zendikar lands.
Really?
I just don't enjoy it. I've had bad experiences with the Zendikar lands. Whenever I play them, I can't ever win. So I like the Time Spiral Lightning Bolt Island.
Oh yeah,
I play with
nice.
Time Spiral lands. I used to like the Odyssey Lightning Bolt Plains a lot. That was my favorite for a long time, but for some reason that kind of fell out of favor. It's not in the new card frame, or I think it might be in the Commander deck, but regardless, it's pretty unwieldy to get a bunch of them.
Right.
So
buy a lot of Commander decks just for that.
Like, what are you buying these for? Yeah, just Plains.
Just the Plains. I'm just going to throw everything else out. You know?
I'm sure if I logged on to StarCityGames.com, though, I could find some copies of the Commander Plains that I was looking for. I'm
sure you could. As we saw yesterday, our Relax favored the 4th edition Plains, white bordered. That one was nice.
Arabian Nights Mountain, sure.
Classy.
All right, Thomas Dietrick leads on Island, looking at a couple Spell Pierces in his hand, Polluted Delta.
Yep, and not sure what he's going to cast on turn 1. Mulling over his options here. Oh, or we're on Joe's turn.
And there's Chromox.
Now, if you're Thomas, do you Spell Pierce this?
Ah, well, he certainly chooses to. It's not unreasonable to Spell Pierce there. Thoughtseize now for Joe Bernal. So
probably wishes he had that Spell Pierce back for that Thoughtseize.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's see what's in his hand. Brainstorm, 2 lands, Exhume, and Spell Pierce.
I think Joe's definitely going to take the Brainstorm.
Yeah, I don't think it's even close. With 2 fetch lands in Thomas Dietrich's hand.
Right, just easily the most powerful card. Thomas missing a piece of his puzzle. Brainstorm the easiest way to assemble that. But we will see. Yeah, and it is the Brainstorm.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine taking anything else. Is that the Commander Brainstorm? I think it is.
FNM maybe.
I don't see the FNM logo, or I can't see that it's foil. Maybe it's foil and I just can't see it.
Could be a few, but the classic Mercadian Masks art.
Yeah, love that artwork on Brainstorm.
Beautiful.
Oh, I tend to play with the really old ones, but Ice Age. All right, Thomas draws, finds Reanimate.
Yep, so now 2 ways to get back a creature, but
missing that vital creature.
Yeah, no way to get in the graveyard. But he does have a Spell Pierce, so he will be able to counter 1 non-creature spell.
Not Gatekeeper Malakir.
Not Gatekeeper Malakir. Joe does have a Thoughtseize, and we'll see if Thomas falls for the trap of countering the Chromox again.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. All right, so Joe Joe's Chrome Mox resolves. It'd be awesome if he just didn't imprint anything right
Yeah.
here. Just like, all right, you got it. But he chooses to imprint. I think that was Stoneforge Mystic.
I think so too.
And then plays the Fetid Heath, giving him access to 3 mana this turn. Going to tap that Scrub land. And Joe is going to cast Shuffles Cabal Therapy to the front of his hand. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, he will be trying to decide between that and Thoughtseize. Not sure which one.
Yeah, and if he casts that on Reanimate, it's going to be a pretty big blowout. Yeah, Cabal Therapy. Okay.
Imagine he'd name Exhume first. He knows about that one.
Yeah, I imagine he'd name Exhume first, too. That's what I meant.
Yeah, and Thomas can't really Spell Pierce this. That doesn't accomplish much.
All right. And bye-bye Exhume. All right. So, reveals Thomas's remaining cards. Misty Rainforest, Reanimate, and Spell Pierce.
Now he'll cast a creature.
Creature time. Stoneforge Mystic. There we go.
And that is going to be a quick clock for Joe Bernal.
Batterskull. Worth noting, Batterskull makes flashback and that Cabal Therapy pretty painless.
Right.
Use the Germ Token, return your Batterskull.
Very good point.
Thomas cracks his Polluted Delta. Shuffling his library away.
So now Thomas, in a really rough spot, going to have to rely on the top of his library to get him where he needs to be. Needs to assemble both pieces of his combo, and Joe Bernal still with a Thoughtseize and half of a Cabal Therapy in reserve. So going to be very tough for Thomas here.
Looks like Shuffle Sword of Fire and Ice at the front of his deck. Maybe not going for Batterskull.
Interesting.
Just wants to draw cards. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Get an engine going.
Lifelink not as important against Reanimator because when they win, they usually win big.
Yep. It'd mostly be the creature, but yeah, drawing the card seems pretty powerful here. Just allow you to continue to demolish Thomas Dietrich's hand.
It does. Now, if he does go for the Sword of Fire and Ice, Thomas can draw a removal spell if he has anything like that. Because if he can kill that Stoneforge Mystic, he'll be in good shape.
Alright, Joe's still choosing. I think he should just take the sword. Kind of in the tank here. And he needs to make a decision. They're getting Oracle text on something.
Interesting. I can only imagine what.
Well, I wonder what it is. Perhaps on a reanimation card?
Maybe on a reanimation target.
On a reanimation target?
Something like
sure.
that. Certainly a card from Thomas's deck, because Joe's the one thinking right now. Thinking how best to play around the top of Thomas's deck.
Wonder what card they're asking for. We'll try and find that out. See what the result is.
Well, either way, Joe ends up getting Batterskull.
Alright, time to batter in some skulls. He's asking for Archangel.
Okay. Probably wondering about Sword of Fire and Ice's redirect, or its special ability.
Oh, sure.
The red half of it.
Because the Pro Blue is pretty relevant. It gets past Archangel, then redirecting.
Right.
Oh, also if he draws a card off it still.
Oh, that was probably
Because
what
it doesn't
it
deal
is.
combat damage to a player, right? It would deal it to the Archangel?
I believe Archangel says instead.
Yeah, it is instead.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so he wouldn't draw a card off Sword of Fire and Ice. That makes more sense.
Yep.
That's why I probably didn't go for the sword there. Thomas Dietrich plays Misty Rainforest and just passes the turn back to Joe Bernal. Untaps and draws
Yep.
into...
It might be a
Is that
relic of
That's like
Genesis.
relic to me, yeah.
And that's probably going to be the icing on the cake here.
That's going to make delicious, delicious cake for Joe Bernal. That's going to make this even harder.
Both players attempting to move to 3-0 right now. They're on 4-0. They're on 3-0 right now. Both searching for this fourth win deep in game 3 here.
Let's see. And Batterskull, Thoughtseize for Joe Bernal.
Yep.
And the relic, of course. That relic going to seriously put a dent in Thomas Dietrich's game plan.
Looks like Joe Bernal is going to decide on relic.
Yeah,
And
plays the relic first, avoiding Spell Pierce.
I think if you're Thomas, you have to cast that Spell Pierce. Give yourself one more turn. But no, he chooses not to.
Oh man, yeah, I think you have to Spell Pierce just because you're only out at this point is ripping a way to get something into your graveyard. Because if you do that, he's tapped out, he can't respond.
Exactly.
Can't Thoughtseize. Maybe he pitches the Stoneforge to Cabal Therapy at that point, but I don't think he would.
Even if he does, that's a big win for you because that means Batterskull's not coming down for a long time.
Right, exactly.
So spell piercing there was probably correct, but Thomas not wanting to use the card and not even get rid of the relic.
I think a lot of players don't think about that. Well, I can't counter it. He has 2 mana untapped. Well, actually, you can just use it as an early frost and tap 2 of his lands.
Exactly. But we'll see what Thomas can come up with here. Joe Bernal playing this one very tight, unlikely to make any mistake, give Thomas any breathing room.
Yeah, Joe knows how to play this deck, and he's not gonna mess up with his black-white cards.
Definitely not. Thomas draws a daze, very ineffective here.
Yeah, it's not gonna do it. And Joe's gonna be able to put in a batter skull end step and just start going to town.
Yep.
2 tap, batter skull. Wow!
And after he untaps with that relic, this game is going to be very close to over.
Don't forget to scrabble him with the relic. Yep, scrabbles him with the relic.
Yep. He'll remove a Misty Rainforest or Polluted Delta, some such.
Or a brainstorm.
Sure.
Sure. Just in case Tom makes an appearance, I suppose.
Never know.
Joe Bernal is going to serve in for 5, probably?
Yep.
Yep, gets in for 5. Dropping Thomas down to 13 life. Maybe going to flashback to ball therapy next?
We'll see. That Stoneforge Mystic not doing a heck of a lot for him right now. Maybe first he'll cast this Thoughtseize. Looks like he's doing.
Yep, Thoughtseize. See what's in Joseph Thomas's hand, I suppose. Ben Roomstein on Twitter asks what Joe's mana base is like. I'll run through it real fast while Joe's looking at Thomas's hand. Thomas's hand, by the way, is Spell Pierce, Daze, Reanimate. It's 4 Marsh Flats, 4 Scrubland, 2 Verdant Catacomb, 3 Wasteland, 3 Fettered Heath, 2 Swamp, and a Plains. Joe ended up taking that Reanimate with the Thoughtseize.
Yep. Now leaving Thomas with 2 very ineffective counterspells. And Brainstorm could be what he needs here. Definitely helps.
And there's the Brainstorm from Thomas Dietrick.
Yep.
Resolves. Thomas picks up 3 new cards. Exhume. Land. Blazing Archon.
Not exactly what he wanted.
I mean, Blazing Archon is okay, but he's not going to be able to get it into play very easily because of that relic.
No, he does have a fetch land, though. He will be able to shuffle his top 2 away, but he'll probably need to run a runner, Joe Bernal, here.
Let's see what he can do.
I think at this point you have to put those 2 counterspells back on top, but nope, he chooses a counterspell and a land. The Spell Pierce, I believe.
Alright, so his hand is now Daze, Exhume, Blazing Archon. Joe Bernal untaps, draws.
Cabal Therapy, I believe?
I think that's a Cabal Therapy too. He's just going to continue to pick apart Thomas Dietrich's hand. That's just how that black-white deck rolls against these combo strategies. You just go look at their hand and just keep taking cards out of it.
Yeah, because fully, he plays a ton of discard spells, and a lot of his draws are going to be discard, especially after thinning out his deck with fetch lands and things like that. For him, 4 Thoughtseize, 3 Cabal Therapy, so fully 11 discard spells in the main deck.
Yeah, it's so much discard, and really just pick apart those combo strategies.
Thomas basically just has to rely on the top of his deck versus Joe.
And even then, he sells that relic, hindering, basically any outs he's looking for.
Right, he's going to have to go off twice. Put together his combo 2 separate times.
And there's cracks the Cabal Therapy.
Yep, takes the Exhume.
Alright, zoom down. So leaving Thomas with just a Daze and a Blazing Archon, an unlikely duo.
Now, if Thomas sided in Show and Tell, that could certainly get him out of this.
But he didn't. I think he needed to side the Show and Tells. I'm not sure about how Thomas sideboarded here. I don't like that Blazing Archon that much.
No, definitely not.
Although I guess if you board in the Show and Tells, you might want more hits, but
Right.
I don't know if he even brought in the shows.
Well, if he did, that is his out.
Alright, Thomas dropping the 4 life. He named, Joe even named Show and Tell with the first Cabal Therapy.
So Joe with a heads-up play, realizing that with the Relic in play, Show and Tell is one of the only cards he can lose to.
Yeah, that's pretty streets ahead right there. Good play. There is Dark Confidant.
Thomas shuffles away that Spell Pierce, has one more turn to make something happen.
Spell Pierce not going to do a lot for me.
Yep.
Although I don't know what card he could draw here.
Yeah, I don't see any Show and Tells when he's flipping through his deck, but maybe he has one Miser's Show and Tell.
If he finds the singleton Show and Tell, puts Blazing Archon into play, the game will continue.
Yep.
Otherwise, Joe Bernal's got this one.
And even if he does get that Archon into play, Joe Bernal has 6 turns to draw an answer. And Thomas draws, and that's going to be it. He draws an Underground Sea.
And that's it.
Joe Bernal takes it in 3 games after losing game 1. His sideboard proves its worth, siding in a ton of cards versus a matchup he knew was bad, just like he needed to, and took it down.
Yep, and